Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. We're here today with special guest, Bridget McNulty, who's here to share with us her new book, Daily Glimmers, The Art of Finding Tiny Joys Every Day of the Year. So can a 3-second moment of joy really help you through life's most darkest days? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Bridget McNulty is a writer, diabetes advocate, and co-founder of Sweet Life, South Africa's largest online diabetes community. So welcome to the show, Bridget McNulty.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to be here.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book. Can you share with us what inspired you to write this?
I'm a writer and a reader, and I published a novel when I was 25, and then I kind of thought that was it. There didn't seem to be another book in me. And then my mom died very suddenly, nearly 6 years ago. And after that, I was looking for a book that would help me through the very unsettling and wild terrain of grief. And I couldn't find one. I wanted something warm and empathetic that would kind of reach out a hand and help me. And so because I couldn't find one, I wrote one called The Grief Handbook, a guide through the worst days of your life. And there's one section in there on slices of joy, which is a concept from Chade Meng Tan, who's Google's former happiness guru. And it says that instead of waiting for the next big thing, instead of waiting for your next holiday or a promotion or a new house or a new partner, we have to look for these small 3-second moments of joy in every day. And if we can do that, it will significantly improve the quality of our lives and our mental health and, as an extension, our physical health. And it's so funny because pretty much the whole book was about grief. And there was this small segment on joy because it's the kind of joy that is accessible even in the darkest days. And it was the thing that everyone kept asking me about. And so I had that at the back of my mind and started writing down a list of 1001 slices of joy because I like doing things like that. And that is what has eventually turned into this book, which is Daily Glimmers, The Art of Finding Tiny Joys Every Day of the Year. And it offers a small moment that you can recognize in that day tied to the season. So a glimmer to notice that day, and then 2 different alternates in case that one doesn't resonate with you. And it was a sheer delight to write, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Well, it's such a phenomenal book, and I'd like to dive into what glimmer is. Can you explain how that differs from happiness or gratitude?
Yeah, absolutely. So happiness to me is it's kind of when all the stars align, right? It's when things are going well, nobody's sick, nothing is really difficult in life, work is kind of smoothly sailing on, and when everything just is going well, then you're happy. But that's hard. It's rare, actually, for everything to be fine. And what I found increasingly, especially the older I've gotten, is that being an adult is hard. I have an elderly dad who has been in and out of hospital for the last 6 years since my mom died. My friends are all going through similar things. Work can be really tough. Parenting can be really tough. Not parenting can be really tough. And so to wait around for happiness is kind of too much to ask of yourself, but to look just for these little glimmers. So the glimmers they've been described. Deb Dana is the queen of glimmers. She coined the phrase, and she talks a lot about nervous system regulation and how these small moments during your day, and they can be as small as, I'm thirsty, now I'm having a sip of water. Or, oh, look how beautiful the sunlight slanting through the trees is over there. Or, oh, I'm a little bit cold, and now I put on something warm. It's really micro moments of nervous system regulation. And what's so beautiful about them in comparison to gratitude is that gratitude to me is something that you kind of recognize after the fact, right? You do a gratitude journal at the end of the day, and you reflect back on your day and what happened that was good. But glimmers are active noticing as the day is happening. You notice this little thing that's so nice, and a little thing that's so nice. And really all you're looking for is nice. We're not looking for stupendous or fantastic or amazing or glorious. You're just looking for a moment of, that's nice. And that to me also makes it so attainable. It's not toxic positivity. It's not saying, oh, but you have so much in comparison to all these other people. Why aren't you happy? Why aren't you grateful? Which can be really difficult if you're having a hard time. But this is just saying, in this moment right now, can you recognize that this feels good? And that feels so much more accessible to all of us.
That really is. It seems to me like an invitation to be present in that moment.
Yes,
And in doing that, are people finding more ways to actually reach a gratitude moment?
absolutely. Because that's the thing. It's not that it has to be big, and it's not that it has to be in comparison to anyone else. Like, what I found so interesting about writing this book was that I've split it up into different themes per month, right? So there's spring, which has sensory delights and physicality and life experiences. Then it goes into summer, which is joy-inducing moments and connection and work and play. And then throughout the year, it focuses on different things. But what's so fascinating is that to a large extent, these are the glimmers that resonate with me, right? I've worked with amazing editors, and so my team has helped to make it a little more universal. But I love that glimmers are specific to me. Like getting home after work and taking off my outside shoes is like such a lovely moment for me. And maybe someone else doesn't care. Like maybe they walk in at the end of the day and something else is their glimmer. And what the goal is with this book is to say, well, look, here are some ideas. This is what works for me. Read this one little paragraph to start your day, or this one little paragraph at the end of your day, whatever works for your schedule, and see if it can help you look at the world a little differently. And to me, that's the real gift of glimmers, is that once you start noticing them, you start noticing them. And that's kind of the craze that swept across Instagram, was just how easy it is to be able to notice these small moments that are happening anyway. You don't have to do anything special. They're right there, just waiting to be noticed. And I think that's quite beautiful.
I love that. It really puts us in a completely different mind shift for looking, because I
Yeah.
think most people look for those really big moments like, oh, I'm in the
Yeah.
Bahamas and it's wonderful. And we're all, most of us are working. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you also don't want to save up all the joy in your life for what, maybe 2 or 3 weeks a year? That's not enough. And then you're missing out on all the good stuff. But at the same time, I find it difficult when there are mental health practices or kind of like improve your life practices that are adding something else to my to-do list. And this is what a lot of my friends and I think a lot of my peers are feeling, is that we're so busy. There's already so much on our plates. We recognize we need to be more mindful and we need to be more grateful and we need to recognize how beautiful life is, but just don't give me something else to do. And so that's what I love about this, is that you don't have to do anything else. These moments are all there already. All you have to do is train your eyes to see them.
in your book, you mentioned that joy is a daily choice. How does this
Mm.
perspective really shape our lives?
I love this question. Thank you. And I think what is so interesting is that I have always believed, and I think a lot of other people believe, that some people are just naturally cheerier or more optimistic or happier, and good for them, not for me, kind of thing. And I am naturally optimistic, but it really struck me that when things are hard, you're the one who has to make that decision every day. It's a practice and a choice, and you have to choose to be able to see these moments and to be able to make that choice every day. Because if you don't, no one else is going to make it for you. You could be living the most beautiful life, and if you don't recognize it, and if you don't pause and take stock of these moments, it's just going to pass you by. And that really struck home to me. I thought I had this practice down pat. I have been talking about slices of joy for years. So slices of joy are kind of chunkier and glimmers are a little more fleeting, but essentially I use them interchangeably. But I thought I had it completely down pat. And then went on this amazing holiday, came back and fell into such a funk because there wasn't anything to look forward to. And I think we can fall into this trap really easily, where we just keep waiting for the next big thing to look forward to. And it really is a practice to say, no, like, this is enough. This beautiful, ordinary life that I'm living, with this delicious taste of something, or a hug from someone you love, or your friend sending you a meme that makes you laugh out loud, or listening to the radio while you drink your morning cup of coffee. Like, this is as good as it gets, and that's beautiful. But you have to keep reminding yourself of that. Otherwise, you keep looking for the big things to look forward to.
Well, and I really appreciate you talking about how difficult life is. And everyone
Yeah,
has, and it's that little saying, I don't remember who it's from, but it talks about everyone's fighting their own battle. So we really
yeah.
don't know what people are going through. So when people are having a very difficult time, how can they start shifting their perspective to looking for glimmers?
Mm. So, what's interesting about having written this book while I was writing it, my dad had a very severe stroke. And while I was doing the final publishing, we found out my father in law has terminal cancer. So, I've really had to stress test this concept. Like, it's not that I wrote it in a time of life where everything was just swimmingly going my way. And the most important thing that I've found is to narrow your focus all the way down. So, slices of joy and glimmers, we're talking about 3-second moments. That's literally all you need to do. And so, if you can bring your focus down to the smallest little details of your day, and then you can let go. Like, it's not that you have to list 15 things that you're grateful for every day or find 15 glimmers. It can be as simple as seeing someone that you enjoy and seeing their face, and that makes you feel better, or going out for dinner and watching a movie. Like, so simple, so beautiful. Or going for a health checkup and you're fine, actually. Like, it was just a checkup and nothing bad happened. Our lives are filled with these very ordinary moments, and they in themselves are the beauty. But I think it's difficult because we're living in a world of Instagram and influencers and people who appear to be doing these huge, glorious things all the time. And so we kind of think that that's what we should be aiming for. To me, my aim, my goal, and what we practice in my family is one good thing a day. So at the end of the day, at dinner time, you can write it down if you live alone or discuss it with the people you're having dinner with. Try and think of one good thing that happened to you that day. And it can be so minor. My son said to me the one day, "What if nothing happened today? What if it was just a day?" And I was like, "Yeah, bud, that happens a lot of the time. Like, there are a lot of just days." But then you think of, did I eat something really delicious at lunch? Did someone make me laugh? Did I go for a run and the ground beneath my feet felt really wonderful? Like, it really can be the simplest, smallest things.
Now, earlier you mentioned seasons. So, how does this play a role in how we experience joy?
I've actually found the seasons thing so fascinating because I'm in South Africa. I'm on the opposite side of the world to the US and the UK where this will be launching. And so I write a weekly Substack, and I have to keep holding myself back from talking about, we're in autumn now and fall, and the coziness and how lovely it is to be putting on jerseys again. I have to keep translating again. I studied in the States, so I learned all the right words, and now I've lost all my lingo. How lovely it is to be putting sweaters on again and having a morning cup of tea when it's actually quite cold outside. The glimmers are completely different. The spring glimmers are all about noticing the first flowers that are coming through and the relief of not having to have layers on, and noticing the lengthening of the days and how that feels like hope and abundance. And so instead of doing I believe this kind of book is called a devotional, where there's a thought a day, instead of doing it tied to a specific day, which would then need to be tied to a specific hemisphere and a specific kind of season, I think. We've done it so that there isn't a specific day, but you enter in a season. So there's 3 months per season. And if you enter at the beginning of spring, for example, then you have the movement through spring and into summer, because the glimmers are surprisingly seasonally specific. And that also helps because then there's something fresh every couple of months for you to focus on.
So, can our past life experiences also bring us daily glimmers?
Wow, that is a fascinating question. I mean, I would think so, in that I think they make you more attuned to resonating with certain things. So I think it's almost like you're tuned to different vibrations depending what it is that you've gone through, and also depending what your interests are and where your passions lie. So I really love reading. I really love gardening. I really love food. And there's a lot of those themes that are moving through the book. But I also tried to give alternatives for those who have had very different experiences or perhaps are not such fans of that. I think when I first came up with the idea for the book, I wanted it to be one that you could cross things out of. But now the actual physical book, I've only just seen the first copy. It's so beautiful. It's not actually, you don't necessarily want to scribble in it. But I do think there's space also for like a workbook alongside it, right? That you could say, well, that doesn't really resonate with me, but what it reminds me of is this other thing that I think is fantastic. And I think it's really helpful to have a list of your own glimmers to fall back on when it's a dark time, because dark times come and sometimes you need reminding that these are some of the constants in life that are really just there and beautiful.
Now, is there science behind glimmers?
There is, and that's what was so fascinating for me, is that I knew they worked and I had kind of done the practical experience of them working. But then when I started writing the book, I found that actually there's a lot of science that supports particularly the mental health benefits of glimmers, but also that there's tangible, like scientific effects that this has on our body, which is so lovely because it's not just that you're doing something that's nice for you. It's something that's really good for your nervous system. And so it speaks a lot to how joy activates the parasympathetic nervous system that's linked to feelings of peace and calm. Happiness, interestingly, activates the sympathetic nervous system, which is linked to excitement and energy and activity. So that's why joy can kind of soothe the nervous system in a way that happiness doesn't. Happiness kind of excites the nervous system. And joy as an emotion is felt in our neurotransmitters, which are the tiny chemical cells that transmit messages between our neurons and our nerves and in other cells of the body. And so this physical sense of joy we experience, it's the result of two different types of neurotransmitters. So it's dopamine, which is the feel-good hormone, and serotonin, the mood stabilizer hormone. So they're known as the happy hormones. And I think what's so fascinating is that if people are struggling with clinical depression, those are the hormones that are often very low. And so these tiny micro moments can help to regulate your nervous system. And it depends obviously on the kind of depression that you have, but it's not that it's a situation that's going to magically cure things, but it can gently nudge you in the right direction in a really low pressure way, which I think is so important.
Now, does connection also play a role in us being able to really have daily glimmers?
Absolutely. So much so that there's a whole section in the book on connection. And it's so funny because I often think of myself as a loner. I like working on my own. I have 2 kids and a husband, and I sometimes feel like that's enough company for me. But when I started writing this long list of slices of joy that turned into this book, so many of them are about other people. And some of them are about obviously the people that we love the most, right? Like special time with the people that we love and quality time and one-on-one time. And then there's the kind of outer ring, which is socializing and parties and amazing conversations with someone that you've just met, that kind of thing. And then what also surprised and delighted me is how many are casual interactions with strangers. I don't know if you have read Burnout, the book by Amelia and Emily Nagoski. Is it Amelia and Emily? The Nagoski sisters.
I have not, but I have to check that out.
Haven't you? Oh, it's extraordinary. So it's about the stress cycle. I reference it in the Grief Handbook and in this book. I think it's superb. It's about the stress response cycle and how there are things in life that stress us out, that create the stressor. So it can be a deadline or something happening at work or getting stuck in traffic, that kind of thing. And then there's the stress response. But if the stressor is physical, which it is because it's felt in our body, the stress response, you have to have a physical closure to that. Otherwise, you get stuck in the tunnel and you have all these open stress response cycles. And so there's 7 different ways to complete the stress response cycle. And it's things you would expect, like physicality, like going for a run or crying or laughing, that kind of thing. But one of them is also casual interaction with strangers. And it's because that signals to your nervous system that you're safe. Like if you can have a casual chit chat with someone who serves you a cup of coffee and it's just along the lines of, hi, how you doing? Oh, I hope you have a nice day. That's such a soothing and actually beautiful part of life. And I didn't realize how much I appreciated that until I started looking for the glimmers in connection. And there are just so many of them. Like the fact that we all say, like, have a good day at the end of interactions. How sweet is that? That we're all just casually wishing each other to have a good day. Or the way that in so many meetings people wave at the end of Zoom calls. That's so cute. And yet we're all doing it all the time. And so other people are a huge source of joy and in so many different and varied ways. And it was such a pleasure diving into that.
Well, this is just such a beautiful and phenomenal book. How can readers use this book to make, Daily Glimmers a sustainable practice?
I love that question because sustainable is the most important word, right? And I have found in my own practices that I'll read something and I'll think, yo, this book has changed my life. And then a month or two later, it's back on my bookshelf and I have kind of forgotten much of it. And maybe there's like a line or two that stuck with me, but it's hard to have something as a sustainable practice once you've closed the book. And so that's why we made it a devotional. So there's something for every day, and it'll take a minute to read it every day. Maybe the super long ones might take 2 or 3 minutes a day. And so to me, what you want to do is habit pair it with something that you're already doing. I don't know if you know about habit pairing. I use it all the time as a behavior change technique, that you take something that you're already doing every morning and then you add the new habit to it. So for me, now that I have an actual real life hard copy, when I'm drinking my morning cup of tea, before the day has begun, I'll spend a minute or two reading the Daily Glimmer for that day. And then that puts my head in the right space. And I know that mornings can be very frantic. I have young kids. We're in a flurry to get to school. But I think that that act of taking 2 to 3 minutes for yourself before the day begins is also such an important self-care signal. And it's saying like, yes, there are lunch boxes to be packed. There is work to get to. There are people who want my attention. But first, I'm going to tend to my own mental health.
Well, I really enjoyed the chapter on relaxation and mental space. And there was so much there. I was like, okay, I have permission to go back to bed. That sounds great. Or I'm going to
I
just take time
know.
off,
But isn't it funny that we need permission to go back to bed? Like, who is this person giving us permission? But we do.
Yes, without a doubt. And I love how it just kind of gives ideas because a lot of times so many people are saying, oh gosh, I'm just way too busy or overwhelmed to even find a little slice of joy. What would you say to
Yeah.
those people?
So they're there anyway. The slices of joy don't need to be fabricated. All you have to do is learn the skill of noticing them. And so no matter how busy you are, so it was interesting because as I was writing it, I was thinking, I actually don't want to give too many examples that require effort. So I mentioned earlier, like dinner and a movie. If you've got young kids or if you don't have a lot of money, dinner and a movie is never going to happen. That like the logistics of that are just too enormous. But you probably got to get to work in the morning. And the way that you get to work in the morning, whether it's public transport or driving your own car, you probably have fallen into a habit of listening to something, whatever it might be, the news or a podcast or the same playlist. And the slice of joy can be as small as switching up what you listen to. So maybe you listen to classical music instead, or maybe you listen to a podcast or a different radio show or an album from when you were 21 that you loved. And it can be as simple as that to just inject a spark of difference into daily life. Because I think so much of the time we're bogged down by the humdrum of things and we can't see past that. It can be as simple as it's lunch break and instead of eating lunch at your desk, you walk to a window or you walk outside and you watch people, you do some people watching. You watch people going about their daily lives or you notice a shaft of sunlight falling through a fountain and it makes a tiny rainbow and you think, that's nice. And literally that's all we're looking for. That's nice. And so there are all these little moments, but it can be hard to see them if you're out of the habit. And so that's, I think, where the book helps. I hope where the book will help. It's just to remind you of how many there are. And it's like pulling on a new pair of socks. Ooh, that's such a good feeling. Like that they could be such teeny tiny things and they're already happening. You're doing them anyway. Everyone has to buy socks at some stage. But instead of just letting the moments pass you by, the practice is pausing and noticing and saying, ooh, that's nice. And that's it. That's the end of the practice. That's all you have to do. And that to me is the essential bit. Like I cannot have anything else on my to-do list. So that's what I love about this. It's not actually adding anything to your to-do list.
Does it help if we journal about our daily glimmers?
I think so. I don't think it's an essential, but I do think it makes them more vivid. So I had, when I was writing this long list, I had at the end of every day, I would write down 3 things that I had noticed, 3 small glimmers that I'd noticed during the day. And then the book ran out. And so I stopped and everything got a little bit blah. And there was nothing wrong, but there was nothing especially right. And I realized that I had stopped writing them down. And so I got a new book and things got better. Like it really is as simple as that. And then there's also an accountability factor too. If you know you have to write down 3 things a day or 1 thing a day, there's no rules around how long it has to be, then you're more on the lookout as the day goes by.
So, how can parents help their children become more aware of their own daily glimmers?
Oh, I love this question because I ask myself that a lot. And I think it can be easy for kids to get used to things. Um, by which I mean, when kids are very little, there's so much magic around, right? Like the whole world is filled with magic. And then they hit this phase, my kids are entering it now, they're 8 and 10, where it's kind of cool to be nonchalant about things and unimpressed by the world. And I think we need to model to them and to ourselves and to our friends and to our colleagues and everyone that it's really not cool to be nonchalant. Like it's very cool to be delighted by the world. So anytime I see like cool clouds, I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Look how cool the clouds are. Anytime I eat something that's particularly delicious, I'll make a point of stopping and saying, oh, how delicious is this? I absolutely love whatever it is that I'm eating. Okay, even for a couple of hours, I'll give them a big hug and say, I'm so happy to see you again. It's all the things that, like, what a waste to take this rare and precious life for granted. But it's a habit that adults often fall into, and I think children can mimic that. And then the other thing that I would really strongly suggest, because it's such a great conversation opener, is to do 1 good thing a day at the dinner table. Literally all we do, we'll sit down, we'll start chatting, and then one of us will say 1 good thing, and each of us just has to say 1 good thing that happened to them. And it's such a fascinating window into each other's lives, because often the 1 good thing will lead into a conversation, or it will kind of illustrate to you how much someone cares about something that you didn't know that they cared about. And it's a mindfulness practice, but it's also a way of having strong connection and repeated connection without a lot of extra effort.
Well, Bridget, I just love Daily Glimmers. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Thank you so much for that question. I think the easiest is my website. It's bridgetmcnulty.com. I am on Instagram often. I'm Ms. Bridget McNulty on Instagram. The book can be pre-ordered. It's out on the 19th of August, but it can be pre-ordered on Amazon or at your local bookstore. And apparently pre-orders make a huge difference. So please do that if you are at all interested. And what I love about it too is that I feel like it's such a beautiful, like the actual physicality of the book is so beautiful. It has, I don't know if you'll be able to share a photo, but it has like a rainbow cloud cover and shiny gold stars. And so it's also such a lovely gift to give to someone who's going through a hard time without foisting anything difficult on them. So I am very much a human author. You can find me on bridgetmcnulty.com. I will reply to any emails. I have a Substack, as I said, and I would love to connect and for you to join me on this practice of noticing how beautiful the world is.
Well, Bridget, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
I so appreciate your time, Marianne. Thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity to have this beautiful conversation. I mean, what a lovely way to spend half an hour.
Well, thank you, Bridget. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book, Daily Glimmers, The Art of Finding Tiny Joys Every Day of the Year. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Mary Ann, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Mary Ann is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Mary Ann will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmaryann.com for more information.